Before the salt and lime, before the music, the laughter, and the dancing, there was silence. A silence that stretched across the dry hills of Jalisco, where a strange blue plant waited for the sun, for rain, for almost a decade, before it could speak. They called it agave azul, the blue agave. Not a cactus, though it wears the armor of one. A plant that turns sunlight into sweetness, and sweetness into fire. When that fire is finally tamed, when it finds its way into a glass, it carries a single name, tequila. A word born from an ancient tongue, from a land guarded by a sleeping volcano. But what does that name truly mean? Is it a place, a promise, a legend passed through generations? Hey friends, I'm Frank, and this is Secrets of Simple Things. Today, we'll uncover the ancient secret behind Mexico's most mysterious drink. Tequila isn't just a drink. It's a denomination, a promise printed on every label. Blue agave, Mexican soil, centuries of know-how. By law, true tequila can only come from Mexico, mainly from the volcanic highlands and valleys of Jalisco, where the red soil is rich with minerals and the agave roots dig deep into the earth. Every bottle carries that protected name, like a passport stamped by heritage. If it's made elsewhere, it isn't tequila. It might be mezcal, it might be spirit, but it's not this. And that's where the magic begins. Because tequila's story starts not in barrels or distilleries, but in the blue leaves of a plant that's often misunderstood. It's not cactus juice. Agave isn't even a cactus, it's a succulent, a relative of lilies. Its spiked armor hides a heart full of sweetness, waiting years to be transformed into fire. Long before the word tequila ever existed, the agave was already sacred. To the ancient peoples of Mexico, the Nahua, the Aztec, the Toltec, this blue-green plant was a gift from the goddess Mayahuel, the mother with 400 breasts, who nourished the world through her children, the agaves. From her sap came pulque, a cloudy, milky drink used in rituals and offerings, not for celebration, but for connection. For over 2,000 years, it was seen as a bridge between humans and the divine. Then came the Spanish conquistadors in the 1500s. When they ran out of their beloved brandy, they turned to the agave and to fire. By distilling the fermented pulque, they created something stronger, clearer, and entirely new. A spirit that would later be called mezcal and eventually tequila. By the 1600s, the first distilleries appeared near the town of Tequila, at the foot of a sleeping volcano in Jalisco. Don Pedro Sanchez de Tagle, the man history calls the father of tequila, refined the process, turning a rustic drink into Mexico's first commercial spirit. The name tequila itself came centuries later, derived from the ancient Nahuatl tongue, meaning the place where plants are harvested. A fitting name for a drink born from patience and earth. By the late 1800s, the railway carried tequila north into the U.S., and the world finally learned its name. Every drop of tequila begins in silence under a sun that burns for a decade. The blue agave doesn't rush. It takes 7, sometimes 10, even 12 years before it's ready. Its thick, sword-like leaves guard a hidden heart, the piña, named for its likeness to a pineapple. It can weigh up to 90 kilos, and it's here that all the sugars sleep. When the time is right, the jimadores arrive, men whose craft is measured not by strength, but by timing. With a sharp, flat-bladed koa, they carve away the leaves, leaving the glowing heart exposed. Cut too early, the sugars are weak. Too late, and they begin to die. It's a harvest that depends on instinct more than calendars. Once the piñas are gathered, they're taken to the ovens. Traditional hornos, stone or brick, slow roast them for nearly 2 days, breaking the tough inulin starches into sweet, caramel-scented sugars. Modern distilleries may use autoclaves, steel pressure chambers that do the same work faster, but with care not to burn away the flavor. When the doors open, the air fills with a smell somewhere between honey and smoke. The golden piñas are soft, sticky, and ready to yield their sweetness. They're crushed to extract the aguamiel, honey water. Some still use the ancient tahona, a massive volcanic stone wheel pulled in slow circles, releasing earthy, complex flavors. Others use mechanical roller mills, efficient, cleaner, faster. Old soul versus modern muscle. That honeyed juice then meets its next life, fermentation. It's poured into wooden, steel, or concrete tanks, where yeast, sometimes cultivated, sometimes wild, feeds on the sugars for 3 to 7 days. The result is something like agave beer, low in alcohol but full of future spirit. It's here that tequila first finds its voice, in bubbles, warmth, and the quiet song of yeast at work. Then comes fire, distillation. Copper or stainless stills heat the liquid until alcohol rises, condensing it back into purity. The first run, the ordinario, is rough. The second refines it, polishing the agave's clean, bright character. At this point, tequila is born, but its story can take many paths. If bottled immediately, it's blanco, clear, raw, alive with vegetal brightness. A short rest in oak gives reposado its golden calm, 2 months to a year of gentle wood and warmth. Añejo spends 1 to 3 years in oak, drawing out vanilla, caramel, and spice. And extra añejo, aged beyond 3 years, becomes something else entirely, a patient spirit that rivals old whiskeys and cognacs. From soil to soul, from leaf to glass, 10 years of sun, fire, and human hands, all for a single drop that tastes like Mexico itself. By now, you might be wondering, with all these agaves, ovens, and barrels, how is tequila any different from mezcal? Well, here's the first myth. Myth number 1, tequila and mezcal are the same thing. Not quite. All tequilas are technically mezcals because mezcal simply means cooked agave. But not all mezcals are tequila. To earn the name tequila, the spirit must come from specific regions of Mexico and be made only from the blue Weber agave. Mezcal, by contrast, can use many agave species, and its hearts are often roasted in smoky underground pits, which is why mezcal tastes like campfire and earth, while tequila shines cleaner and sweeter. Myth number 2, tequila comes from cactus. It doesn't. Agave looks spiky, yes, but it's a succulent related to lilies, not a cactus. Myth number 3, there's a worm in every bottle. That's not tequila, that's some mezcals. The famous gusano was a marketing twist, not a Mexican tradition. Myth number 4, real Mexicans drink tequila with salt and lime. Actually, no. That ritual started abroad, probably in bars outside Mexico. Locals usually sip it neat, slowly to taste the agave, not chase the alcohol. Because the real secret of tequila isn't in the salt or the lime, it's in the story of the plant itself. From sacred rituals to national pride, tequila has become more than a spirit. It's Mexico in a bottle. That label, denomination de origin, isn't just legal protection. It's a cultural seal, a signature that says, this drink could only be born here. Today, tequila lives 2 lives. In one, it's the heart of the modern bar, spun into classics like the Margarita and Paloma, symbols of sun, sea, and celebration. In the other, It's a slow ritual, a sip of Blanco, bright and crisp, or extra añejo, deep as old wood and thyme, savored like fine whiskey or cognac. And behind every pour, tradition and technology still work hand in hand. In Jalisco, you can still find a Tahona grinding agave by stone, just a few miles away from stainless steel autoclaves and automated roller mills. Old ways and new craft, two worlds, one spirit. Because tequila isn't frozen in history, it's alive, adapting, evolving, and carrying the heartbeat of Mexico into every glass raised around the world. Tequila isn't a party trick. It's a passport, stamped by volcanic soil, guarded by time, and signed by a single blue-leafed plant. Its name isn't just a label, it's a map, a memory, a vow. Tequila is where land, people, and patience meet, a place turned into a promise. That's why the name matters. Because every protected word, every bottle sealed, isn't about ownership, it's about guardianship. A way for Mexico to say, this story began here and it still belongs here. So next time you raise a glass, remember, you're not just tasting a drink, you're holding centuries of sunlight, the heartbeat of the agave, and the quiet power of a name that refused to fade. So now you know, the next time someone shouts tequila, you'll remember it's not just a drink. It's a decade of sunlight and soil in a single glass. But let's make it personal. Do you prefer the clean spark of Blanco, the smooth gold of Reposado, or the deep aged calm of Extra Añejo? And more importantly, why? Tell us your favorite in the comments and let us know which drink we should uncover next. I'm Frank, and this is Secrets of Simple Things. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories hidden in the everyday. This video is based on verified historical, cultural, and technical sources, including the official transcript and the supporting research article provided. All visuals and footage are either original, licensed, or used under fair educational use. Secrets of Simple Things is a documentary channel created for educational and cultural purposes. This content does not promote excessive alcohol consumption. Please drink responsibly and follow all local laws. All historical dates, terminology, and classifications were cross-checked for factual accuracy. External footage from restricted sources such as BBC, NATGEO, or Discovery was not used. Additional references and credits are listed in the video description below.